Hello, welcome to Alexander's talk called The Plone is Dead, Long Live the Plone. So Alexander is a longtime member of the Plone Foundation, having worked with the security teams, and also we've worked together on the board for a few years as well. Alexander, it's a little bit different this time. I did not get your slides ahead of time to look through them to see how the English was. That tends to be something that we do at conferences.
Yeah,
But I'll let you go ahead and start your presentation.
thank you, Chrissy. Well, the plone is dead. Long live the plone. Sometimes, or last year in Ferrara, I said I will do a talk like that, and now I'm doing it. So at the end, at the beginning, there I have some license work in, but they're under fair use conditions, so hopefully that's okay. I'm referencing a lot of the talks from last year and overall some of the other conferences. But well, what is it about? Last year at Ferrara, I had some kind of feeling of realization. Um, the past few years, there was some kind of feeling in my side that Plone changes or people in the community changes Plone to something I don't like or I don't understand. But actually last year I really realized that there is a different thing. So Plone is something else for everybody, especially for us in the community. We all have different use cases, different mindsets about the thing we want to work on. Uh, and what I'm really was realizing that I on myself was wrong in a lot of parts. The thing is, language is difficult. As I said last year, language is important. It's more than syntax and semantics. Words have a specific meaning. And as we're talking about technologies, technology are complex and maybe complicated. And to build a common sense or an understanding for that technology is even harder. And for me, as an information scientist and a manager, it is a bit more complicated because I'm very language sensitive. So maybe not always language aware, but sensitive. So if I hear the wrong word, it's sometimes hard for me to see if we're really talking about the same thing. So most of the biggest problems in software are problems of misconception. So the question is, what is Plone for you? And we do have that fantastic video from Abstract IT from Sorrento that shows something about that.
Who are you? What's your name?
I'm Matt Hamilton.
Yeah, where are you from?
From Bristol, UK.
What's Plone for you in 2 phrases?
A great community. Simone, Roma, una comunità fantastica.
Alessandro, Bari, una grande opportunità.
Je suis Geoffrey, Belgique.
Plone, c'est un framework de développement pour des sites web et pour notre université, pour l'intranet notamment. Et voilà.
Frédéric, ici en France. C'est un outil difficile à prendre en main, mais qui devient très puissant au fur et à mesure qu'on
Bene, Ferrara, dice verso Cucurico. Figo, ti piace? Cervelloni.
Ilmari lähtee on Suomesta. Mun mies Asta työskentelee Plonen parissa. Se on mahtava yhteisö. Mä oon tosi ylpeä ja iloinen siitä, että mun Asku kuuluu siihen yhteisöön. Ja meidän vauvasta tulee Plone-koodari.
Asku Soukka Suomesta. Juuri nyt Plone on hauskaa aikaa mukavien ihmisten kanssa.
La futura
Raffaele Roma, un modo per impressionare i ragazzi.
Alin, din România. Plone pentru mine este un mod de viață. Sunt Alexandru, din România. Pentru mine Plone este ceea ce lucrez, ceea ce îmi place să lucrez, ceea ce fac când mă duc la serviciu.
Alexander Loechel, München. Plone ist für mich wie eine Familie.
Florence Rowe, San Francisco. Although I no longer do Plone, I still do sites the Plone way. So you can take the man out of the plane, but you can't take the plane out of the man.
Jamie Lenton, England. Plone for me is this magic box of tricks that can do so many things straight away.
M'Aleix Lluçà, Catalònia, i Plone crec que serà de la meva vida.
Yeah, thank you. This video from Extract is really fantastic and shows some of the different voices from the community, and that we see Plone is something different for everybody else. So I want to ask you, what is Plone for you? I've asked Chrissy to add 5 poll questions in. If you would answer it, it would be nice. So my first question for you is, what is your connection to Plone? The second is, what is Plone for you? What are the core ideas of Plone? And what are the core functionalities of Plone for you? And as we always compare Plone to other things, I want to ask you also, who do you think are the competitors to Plone in your point of view? I want to go ahead and say, what is Plone now, or what is Plone in 2020? We do have fantastic presentations from the Plone Conference 2019 and before. And as I said at the beginning, for me, it was like a feeling of realization there. So I want to show you some of the slides or the concepts presented there that really impressed me. First of all, what is Plone? That is how the Plone community page shows it. And Erico Andre said this: Plone is the software, is the community, is the foundation, and it's not the same thing at the same time. So Plone is something special. Plone is a software. Plone is an API. But more important, Plone is a community, and Plone is a foundation. There was, I think last week, Kim has done a new podcast. So from his podcast series, the Plone Connection podcast with Erico Andre, there was 2 quotes that's really important for me. Plone Core is an API, but there are more than one APIs. It's Plone API for the internals, it's Plone REST API, and the Plone UI, and none of them is complete. And the other thing is, every Plone company has a different point of view of competitors, because everyone focuses on a different thing in the product they're using with it. So they have different use cases, different competitors, different markets. And that is something what makes Plone very special. If you're looking into the slides of Eric Steele, what is Plone now? The mature open source Python CMS. Plone is the community. Then there are the foundation viewpoints, the community viewpoints, and Plone as the API contract, where he said the 4 key elements are security, flexibility, extensibility, and user experience. And that takes me to the thing that Victor said. What is Plone in 2020? For him, it was the content types, the permission, the workflow, the hierarchy. And the overall question, what do customers and users want nowadays? And Plone can be very different. The Plone Classic and Volto with Plone REST API as a backend, Plone with Volto with the Guillotina backend, or Plone with other front ends, or with other compatible API backends. Because the one thing that really stuck to me was this sentence, implementation may change over time. Well, you don't. And just in the presentation before by Victor, he said, Plone has evolved from being a standalone product to be a contract. The knowledge and wisdom that we, the Plone community, achieved during the last 20 years building a world-class enterprise CMS. And yeah, there is a lot of things in. There is the product and the CMS thing. So Timo described it a bit different. So saying the limit checklist, it's all about the simplification, simplifying Plone. And he has two major target audience, developers and users. So for the developers, it's the thing about simplifying the technical stack, using standard technologies with the REST API, plus React or other JavaScript front-end types. For the user, it's about reducing the cognitive overhead, fewer content types, composite pages, and everything like that, making a smoother, smarter editing experience. So I asked myself, what was Plone for me? Well, in contradiction to Erico, I have not 3 points, I have 5 points on my list. It's Plone, the CMS. It's the framework toolkit we use in it. It's the vision behind Plone. And most important, it's the community and the foundation behind it. And that is the thing that makes Plone really, really special. For me, Plone is a vision. It's not a contract or an API. It's the vision to empower users. But what kind of users we have? So we have the customers, we sell a product. We have the content consumers working with the Plone side as an anonymous or as a logged-in reader. We have the content creators. We have the power users, the editors and chiefs that do some more stuff. We have the Plone site admins. We have the SOAP admins. We have the server operators, the integrators and developers. All of them we have to take with us. And what is Plone? So back to the API point of view. If we have one API as a contract of the core functionality, yes, there is something. In the past, I always also do some marketing about Plone, and I always said, Plone is a content management system. Well, Victor said the young don't know what a content management system is anymore, but well, that's one thing. The other thing is Plone is not a web framework. Plone is more a content integration framework or an umbrella for lots of framework that lets you allow to do a lot of fantastic stuff and integrate that with Plone to show different content, different ideas in one side. But actually, I was wrong in some way. Because if we're looking as Plone CMS as a product or Plone as a vision and the simplification, I made the same mistake that most of the people using Plone did. So if we look back, Plone, the product, and Plone, the framework, the toolkit, is something different. And there is the umbrella of framework and toolkits we use in the Plone community world. But that's something different than the product of a CMS. And as Victor and Eric said, it's all about values. The implementation may change over time, the value don't. And we all share the same value as Plone. And Timo said it with the right image. All ideas grow out of other ideas. I like the quote from Isaac Newton. If I have seen further, it's by standing on the shoulders of giants, because we're building upon the ideas of others, about the results and achievements of others. And that is also a thing that Plone is. Eric described it with SOAP, CMF, and Plone, the connection. Actually, he goes more. SOAP, CMF, Plone, the API, and Volto. That is what Plone 6 is or will be. and the future is. But if we're looking a bit back in the time, Plone was the user interface to the power of the ZOP and content management framework. So if we're thinking about the huge technical possibilities that are hidden and buried in this ZMI and was not approachable by users, the Plone UI gave them user experience and entrance points to that. And we've learned a lot about through the web development. Yes, a lot of the through the web development we've done in the first time in Plone 1, 2, 2.5. It was possible, but it was not a good idea. So we moved, or we shifted to go on the command line interface, doing the changes in code and everything, and not in the ZODB. And the Plone user interface does still provide the most important points to interact with the system. So if we're looking in the overall architecture of ZOP and Plone, it's a layered system. And layers in computer science or information science is something very special and nice, because layers hide complexity. They make complex things easier. They define an API between the layers. They are transparent. You can just pull one module out, pull another one in. So in archetypes time, there was just one line to change storing the data in a ZODB, a Postgres, or a MySQL database. It just was one thing. And it's also the same in some other points. For the end user, it does not matter if the content was stored in archetypes or in dexterity. So there are layers in the stack that makes it very powerful, because we are not a monolith system that is interconnected everywhere. We have defined layers we can build upon and remove or change. That's very nice. I made once a kind of graph of an evolution tree about ZOP and Plone, and there's lots of technology around we're working with. But one thing I've seen there is naming things is hard. And we as the Plone community has done something with that. We're taking namespaces out of the community, not where the stack layer or where the tool in the stack belongs to. So if we're looking on a simplified version of the Plone 6 step, there are so many different components involved that gives the power to Plone. And till 2015, we're thinking about Plone as the generic Plone packages, the Plone core package and the user interface, maybe already some of the REST API and Voltooth ideas. Today, the Plone community is larger, as we have absorbed or assimilated the ZOP Foundation and the ZOP community. We're working a lot together with the Pylons folks, so like Steve Percy and the others from Pyramid. So the community is even larger, and there's more common packages involved with it. So the question is, what is Plone and where does all the stuff belong to? We cannot work without those. But on the other hand, we see one thing. We are the Plone community. We are not the ZOP community. And there was the one different choice. It was about the values, ideas, and vision in the community we worked. Alex Nimi, Alan Runyon really did a fantastic stuff building up a community that is in parts different than the ZOP Foundation. And there is more the focus on the values in it. And let's go back to the API. So if we're thinking about software as an API, you always have the API problem. If you're changing it or doing a new layer on top of it, what is the API? It needs to be defined. And normally we go by the Pareto principle, so that 80% of this stuff can be done in 20% of the time and is the benefit things for everyone. The last 20% takes 80% of the time and everything. So it's about defining which functionality we really want to go in the API. So which contract is it? we're reinventing a bit the wheel in it. But the other problem is we never have a 100% feature compatibility to the old system, because there are undocumented features. There are features that will never go into the API. And it's also a chance because we want a deprecation of some features that we have seen are not good for the best practices, for the community, for the developers and everybody. So there's a different thing. And as I always said, the goal of law about a complex system that works is invariably found to have evolved from a simple system that works. The inverse proposition also appears to be true. A complex system designed from scratch never works and cannot be made to work. You have to start over, beginning with a working, simple system. That's all about. So we have a working set with all the Plone, ZOP, CMF stuff in our stack. And we're just putting a layer on top of it to make it more simpler. It's a common approach in computer science to work like that. But on the other hand, one size does not fit all. We have seen that people want specific use cases highlighted, moving out, doing something else. So Plone and ZOP is different than Guillotina, than Pyramid, and other frameworks coming out of our community like Moorpath and so on. So there's specific needs. And it's not a bad thing, it's a good thing, because if we have the variety and we see new ideas, we can adapt those ideas, but not limit us to do an overall monolith system that has to take care of all use cases. So if we're looking back into the idea of the API and Volto, so we have different things. So Eric and Victor saying you have ZOP and Plone at the backend, you have Guillotina, you could have a Pyramid backend for Volto, but all of them also, if you just have for content consumers, sometimes Gatsby could be the better solution for reading it. So there's a lot of things. And I want to see one other thing I've reminded, that in Brazil 2013, we were discussing about the future of Plone, especially then with the Python 3 focus, but also what will be Plone in the future. And Volto at that time was not already on the floor, but sorry, forget the name. There was this one quote from Paul Everett that they had one lesson from ZOP 3. You should rename the beast. If it is not the same thing than before, ZOP 2 and ZOP 3 was two different things, you should rename it. So I was in the past saying Volto CMS is a fantastic name because it's not Plone anymore. And I must admit, there I was wrong too. Because if we're looking into it, it's all about the vision of about empowering users. It's the content creators and the developer focus. And if we're looking at other systems, all systems work like that. They grow over the time, and then they see they are over complex. They're making distributions and making their system simpler by giving it back a product character. And that's the same we do with the Plone community. And there is this famous quote from Albert Einstein: any intelligent tool can make things bigger and complex. It takes a touch of genius and a lot of courage to move in the opposite direction. And in the beginning, that was one of the things that Alex Limy was really doing with the Plone community. He had that idea, that vision, and the capability of simplifying things. And another quote from the past in the Plone community was, it's all about rapid turnaround. This fantastic video by John Kelly from 2006 shows what it is for a developer. It's all about the rapid turnaround to work smooth and smart with it without the XML setups, he calls it, and everything. And I've understand last year that the vision lives on. The vision is Volto today, and Volto is the future of Plone UI. And you can say it's like in the US presidential election process. You have the primaries, and where all the candidates present their concepts, their ideas, and they vote a potential leader. And on the Congress, there is this force to join together behind the new leaders, the ideas, and endorse the nominee. And therefore, I would say, I proclaiming that Volto is the essence of the Plone vision. And that is what it's all about. And that's why I chose the title of this talk. It comes from the French, Le roi est mort, vive le roi. The king is dead, long live the king. It's a traditional proclamation, but it's not the sad thing that there's an end. It's the other thing, it's a change, but with a continuity. You have a change of generation. It could be like a new hope because there's new energy, new enthusiasm. If you're looking more into the sports analogy, it's like passing the baton in a race. And that's what I'm seeing at the moment. It's that the ideas we have seen, or the leadership by Alex Lemy and Alan Runyon in the first days, are now done by the fantastic user experience design and work from Albert Casalo, and the implementation capabilities and ideas and concepts of Victor Fernandez de Alba. So we should join together, helping them, making the vision for Plone come true, and help Plone be that what Plone is for us. And Victor really loves Star Trek, me too. And for me, it's like seeing it's a new generation. It's the implementation that changes. It's not the values. We are still the Federation, or like we said it, the Plone Collective. And it's all about that. We're changing our base, but we work with our still the same values and passion. And it's all about leadership and vision, what we have. But all the leaders are nothing without the good people behind them, the people that gives the technologies. But we are not only about the rock stars in the community. It's all of you, all of us. The Plone community is an awesome community. We all together work and make the Plone thing happen. And I really want to appreciate. And it's all about also an acknowledgement. I really want to thank all of the people from the past, the present, and the future that's working for Plone. And I want to thank all the active Plone community members. And it's all about that. Things do not happen. Things are made to happen. And changes to that needs leadership. And we need to follow that. So beside the product Plone, there's the other side, the foundation. The Plone Foundation with the mission to protect and promote Plone. That's all the things Eriko said last year, what the Plone Foundation Board of Directors does, the decision-making structure for essential community activities, managing copyrights, trademarks, domains, intellectual properties, code licensing, coordinating marketing and communication, fundraising to support the community, finance sprints, event community infrastructure. But on the other hand, there's a lot outside of the scope of the foundation. We are neither lead or steer the development of the software. That's things of the community teams like the framework and release team. About the roadmap, priorities, and features that comes from the community. The foundation has license to some teams, but it's only about communication and giving them, if necessary, the financial support to do it. And the other thing is to compete with Plone, Zope, Guillotina, or Volto providers. We are not about support contracts, licenses, or trainings. It's about the community that the foundation works. The foundation always needs you. And there is on Thursday now the annual meeting of the foundation. And I please everybody from the foundation members and not foundation members to show up. Just see how awesome this community is, what they've achieved and done. It's always, we need you. We need you for the Plone Foundation and the community. And if I can say, I have some wishes about the future of Plone, and what happens is for the Plone product, please everyone endorse Volto. It is the vision of simplifying the CMS work. With that, as Timo said, we can attract new developers and keep the community vital. The other thing is, as I'm more and more doing, if I'm doing Plone stuff, things in the Zope and CMF stack systems, or even lower things like restricted Python, I would love the idea if we can move packages or modules that are generic already into the different, or in a different namespace, to show it's not the element that's only works in Plone, it works in other systems like Zope interfaces. Everybody thought it is bind to Zope. No, you can use it everywhere. For the Zope, for the Plone Foundation, it's about secure the product, framework, and toolkit. And one thing I've seen as I'm presenting or prepared the simplified stack, we do have a large overlap with the pyramid pylons family. And I would be glad if we could absorb also this community. Working together, we share the same mindset. We are working with the same technologies. It would help to protect our product, but also give our financial and working efforts into that community and projects to have them involved. We all need Waitrose and other technologies from the Pylon stack. And for the community, especially this year where we cannot be together in one conference room or one conference location, stay connected, be together. The thing about sprints, all of it, it was learn from each other. You may think the others are way smarter than you, but I can tell you one thing. Even the smartest person in the community knows or did not know some things you know. So we can learn from each other. There are no rock stars, there are no superstars in our communities. We are one community. We can go share a beer or a drink, joining together, talking. It's not like, ooh, this rocks. No, it's, I still remember the day of my first conference, 2010 in Bristol, where Alex Limy, Alan Runyon, and some others said, oh, you come here, I invite you for a beer, let's talk. It was so fantastic. And that's a spirit I wanted to keep. And on the other hand, you see lots of person moving, but Loensro said it in a very fantastic way. You can take the man out of Plone, but you could not take the Plone out of the man. We stay a community. And that's what it's all about. So for me, it's just to say, live long and prosper, stay safe, stay secure, and hope to see you somewhere around this here at the conference, at the next Plone Open Garden, the next Plone Conference, or one of the many sprints. Thank you. Back to Chrissy, or maybe we go directly to the question and answer in the Jitsi room.
We will in just a minute. I want to thank you, Alexander, for your talk, and also for all of the work that you have done for the community yourself too. We did not have any specific questions in Slido, but there was plenty of conversation in Slack, so make sure to check that out later. But for now, we'll go ahead and underneath the video inside of Loudswarm, you'll see a join face-to-face button. So I'll go ahead and jump over there now, and you can talk to Alexander. So thank you.
Thank you.